Ladies and gentlemen, this is your captain speaking. Strap in and enjoy that fish dinner. We're gonna review a movie. We watched a movie today, and the movie. So, Keegan has this very good rule. It's a great rule, one of the best rules. And he says, for this whole review process, we each bring a movie that we've watched before, and we share it with our friends. That's the whole kind of thing about this movie review
show.
And so I kind of kept a secret this movie from them because I wanted to surprise them. And we get here, and Keegan's like, and I'm talking to Keegan. I'm like, oh, by the way, I've never seen this movie before, and he gets all bothered.
I was pissed.
Yeah, he's pissed. And so I was like, well, I've seen it, but I haven't seen it. And so
we've all seen it.
We've all seen
it.
But haven't seen it. And so he was kind of confused by that, the little cute questioning face on his
face.
Yeah. And so he and then I started it, and we watched 0 Hour.
Let's just say that I approved.
And he approved. And I don't know, we can start. Well, okay, so when I first started it, I put it on, the little title, I think, in the beginnings, and Keegan knew exactly what was going on. Chris took a little bit longer.
Yeah, it took me until they were actually on the plane and the boy went into the cockpit.
Which
I made a joke, and then I was like, wait, what? And then I knew.
For those of you who don't know,
yes, I should say
0 Hour is essentially the movie that the Abrams and Zucker brothers watched, where they were like, we could make a spoof comedy off of this, and that became Airplane.
Mm-hmm.
And they pretty much just took the script and made it there and just added jokes to it.
It was pretty much like one for one, shot for shot, for the most part.
Yeah, I think even when I was researching it, they said that they had to buy the rights for the film because they just pretty much covered the whole thing.
Really?
Yeah.
And so...
Well, there are literal, like, I would say, like, I mean, maybe like 50 to 60% of the lines are like verbatim, like the same. Just added a joke afterward or something.
Yeah. And there's a couple elements that are a bit different, like the wife character in 0 Hour and the stewardess characters sort of are combined in Airplane
a little bit.
And
she's a little bit. There is another stewardess that has similar elements as well. So it's.
But I want to go back to like the scene with the boy in the cockpit, because I think so when we first started, Keegan laughed at Ted Stryker when he first said his name,
because it's the same name as the main character in both movies.
But once we got to the part with the boy into the cockpit, me and Keegan were just giggling, and that's when you had your realization. And so I think like I don't know, that was a magical moment. But I think like through the whole movie we were just giggling back and forth at different parts of the movie because we were imagining the other movie in our mind. And so do you guys want to talk about parts that you enjoyed?
Well, that's kind of what made me somewhat enjoy this movie.
Yeah.
Is literally, it was almost as if in my head I was watching 0 Hour play with Airplane playing, like just simultaneously.
Yeah.
And that's what made it fun for me. I was trying to like divorce the two.
Yes, a little bit.
Because it was really hard, because I've seen Airplane so many times. So that's why like any line that came up that was the same line, I would laugh, because I would like either remember the joke that follows, or it's funny how very similarly they deliver the lines as well.
Yeah.
Like the kid pretty much it sounds exactly the same. It's almost as if they just ripped his dialogue from 0 Hour and put it on the kid in Airplane. Like, it's really funny.
Well, what you mentioned, I wanted to like talk about the movie as itself and also as an airplane.
Yeah,
So
that's what I was going into.
yeah, so go ahead.
The movie on its own is a pretty straightforward. It hits all the beats that you would expect in like just a classic.
I was gonna mention how I'm not familiar with too many movies in this time period, but it seems like one of those, like one of the earlier movies that has like the whole like couple, separating, and then through a tragic event they come back together.
Mm-hmm.
It's like there's a lot of movies like that, specifically disaster movies. I don't know if this is one of the earlier disaster movies to have that trope.
Yeah.
But it made me think about that and like how there's so many of those types of disaster or like.
Yeah, that's like a common thing where like there's the personal but also the big grand thing happening. So.
And the stakes are high because the son is sick, and so they're both in the cockpit together flying the plane, and it's pretty standard getting back together sort of thing.
But when this came out in 1957, I'm sure that trope hadn't really like developed much. So and especially like a disaster movie that just has like it's just stacked with different things, like they're separated, everyone's sick, the plane, like the pilots are sick, so the plane has nobody to fly it, and like his own like PTSD sort of thing. Like it's a lot packed into the movie, and I'm sure at the time people were like, "Oh my God, what is happening in this movie?"
Yeah, the one part that I remember that maybe wasn't an airplane, maybe correct me if I'm wrong, but there's when the little boy is sick and he crushes his airplane.
Yeah,
that was a really nice shot. Where it's like,
well, I thought that was a good cut too.
Yes,
because I'm trying to remember exactly. Someone says something about the plane, or like how they're in trouble or whatever, and then it cuts like very quickly to him accidentally breaking the plane.
Yeah,
and it's like, ooh,
and it's like nosedive down, so it looks like it's crashing. And so I like that. I think you guys kind of said you liked that when we saw it.
Yeah.
I wonder why they didn't put something like that in Airplane. I don't know. I don't remember anything.
I mean, I don't think they were trying to go for any
symbolism.
clever. Yeah, exactly. The more the movie went on, because I have really only seen Airplane once all the way through. I've seen bits like a few different times, but it was easy for me to sort of separate this movie from Airplane. Yeah. I mean, you guys giggling sort of like every time they like a bit came up, and like there were certain parts where I saw, the comparison to Airplane or whatever, but for the most part, I just watched it as its own thing.
Something I was able to kind of separate from it was there's a character who's only in like 2 or 3 scenes who has a little like puppet hand thing, glove that he uses to like early in the movie he's using it to like play around with the kid, to just entertain him.
Yeah.
And then later the kid's sick, and so he comes over to comfort him with the thing, and then he takes it off and gives it to the kid so that he kind of like, bit of comfort during what he was going through. And I was like, I actually like that character. Like, he seems like a really nice guy who's just like wants to make sure the kid's okay, and it was just from what I was expecting going into this, I wasn't expecting something like that to make me kind of have a little bit of a feeling. I thought I was just going to be laughing at Airplane references.
Yeah.
I did appreciate the miniature work with like the fighter planes and stuff. I mean, it's pretty basic, but it looked
basic
pretty
and dated,
good.
but it still exists.
Yeah. No, for like 1957 though, like it looked pretty good when they like blow up and start to nosedive and that kind of stuff.
Yep.
And then like the shots on the outside of the plane when it's raining and stuff. Like,
You said something about that. I remember.
oh yeah, there's a part where they're flying and it shows like the cockpit from the outside of the plane, and there's literally just water like falling down as if there's no wind pushing against it at all, and then the windshield wipers just like I was like, oh man, that's not supposed to happen.
Yeah, there's no autopilot blow up, which was kind of a bummer.
Well, there was an autopilot.
Yeah, there. Which I didn't know they had back then.
I didn't either. He's like, the autopilot's on, but we need someone to land. I'm like, whoa, autopilot. That's pretty advanced, huh?
Yeah.
Well, we were watching the movie, and Levi was getting like upset that the jokes weren't happening, and I was like, Levi, this isn't Airplane. This is 0 Hour. We're watching.
Yeah, I think ultimately, the longer it went on, the more I was like, I kind of just want to watch Airplane.
Yeah.
If I'm being honest.
Well, to kind of say what Keegan was saying, I was anticipating where it was going to go in the actual story, because like how far, if like the one part where he's like, I picked the wrong day to quit smoking.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, how far is it going to go in this movie? But it just ends at that, and in Airplane, it goes on forever. But
yeah, it's amazing how much exaggeration Airplane takes like the simplest things.
Yeah.
And they just stretch them as far as they can go.
Yeah. So what Keegan was saying is, I wasn't sad that they weren't happening. I was just trying to see where it goes a bit, how far it went in the actual story.
I get it.
The people at the airport, there was like the manager or whatever, the head of the airport. He seemed like in Airplane they had more old timey voices, I felt like, and in this one they just kind of talked normal.
Well, I think you kind of mentioned it during it, but the character who's playing the character in this, who's the same character as Kramer in Airplane. I can't remember what his name is in this.
Yeah.
The guy playing Captain Kramer is much more like authoritative and like, or
Oh yeah.
or maybe it was the other guy that was, can't remember either of their names from the movies. But they definitely, it almost feels like they got better actors who have a more authoritative voice and like inflections in Airplane.
Yeah. That's kind of what I was talking about. It's like in this one they were kind of just talking normal.
Yeah.
And maybe that's just how they acted back then, and I don't know, but
well, the guy who's the captain or whatever that they get from, like they call in from like the restaurant or whatever, the hotel.
Oh yeah.
I realized watching it that he's McCluskey from Godfather, who punches Michael Corleone.
McClunky?
No, his name is Captain McCluskey. McCluskey. He's the one who punches Michael Corleone in the face.
And isn't the Airplane the horse head? That's from. Holy cow!
They do have a horse joke.
I was kind of bummed that they didn't have it in this one.
Interesting. I wonder. Never mind. Whatever.
All right, so we're gonna go into ratings now. I'm actually a little bit curious. I want to give it a standalone rating and then an Airplane rating, if you want to. If there's a difference.
Who's going first?
You want to go first, Keegan?
Sure. This I will. Like, I don't want to just give it a thumbs down because like it's fine for what it is.
Yeah.
It's just
it suffers by comparison.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'll kind of give it like a very like middle of the road.
Yeah.
Because there was still some good little things in there, and I did enjoy watching it with like Airplane in the back of my head, so I didn't like hate watching it or anything.
Yeah.
It just was very standard, but brought up a little bit by comparison. But Airplane, 2 way big thumbs up.
Oh, okay.
Because I love it. My favorite comedy.
Well, maybe we'll do that another time. So we don't give it.
We're not gonna do that.
Yeah.
I pretty much the same sentiment. It's like it's a fine movie, but given that it was used to make arguably one of the best spoof movies ever made, it just it's hard not to compare it when you watch the original. So I'll give it a side thumb because, again, it's good. It's just, yeah.
So yeah, I guess I'm on the same page as all of you guys. By
All
itself,
of us.
both of you.
All of us.
I would give it a side thumb as itself because it was a fine movie. I would probably not watch it, being that it's so old, and that it's so kind of just generic. But with the whole airplane playing in the background, it goes up to a thumbs up because it's hard to divorce the two movies, and it was a really enjoyable experience listening to them giggle, and it was
He
really
loves
fun.
my giggles.
Yeah. I think that was a fun experience, and if you've ever watched Airplane and love it, I say I recommend that you watch this movie as well.
At least see where it came from.
Yeah, and also do it with some friends who have also watched Airplane. So
It's
yeah.
much more fun that way.
Yeah, I'd say that. Oh no, the end of we're gonna crash. Oh no, I made it. I landed. I landed the plane.
Levi, you're coming in too hot!
I am too hot. That's just how I am.